Hello everybody, Void here, coming back at you all with some more Zendikar Rising spoilers. Now, last time where we left off, it was right before the 5th, so we got a few things, but it wasn't anything big. September 4th was when we learned of the new commander decks. So we have a rogue tribal here and a landfall +1/+1 counter strategy. Again, go watch the previous spoiler video if you want to see the full description on those cards. But it looks like we're just getting some more bulk, nothing massive here to cover the last couple days. We do get this pretty cool looking dragon here. Almost thought it looked like a hammerhead shark at first. Like some kind of weird dragon-shark combination. Maybe it's a newer creature type that they wanted to push. No, it's just a simple dragon. 4 mana red 4/4 with flying. You don't lose unspent mana as steps and phases end, and when Leyline Tyrant dies, you may pay any amount of red mana. When you do, it deals that much damage to any target. I love this card. I love how we're seeing some more like mana-focused cards in red. It also obviously is going to play into burn too, but I enjoy seeing something like this to really help red out, because mono red specifically is very tricky to pull off in Commander. You have some really good decks, but it's very all or nothing. So if you can just get some more mana, you wouldn't have to be as aggressive in red. You could just kind of sit back and wait for your opponents to do something and then react. You could sacrifice this and then spend a whole bunch of red mana and then punish someone that wanted to hurt you. So that was pretty much the only big spoiler for September 5th. You got some commons and uncommons, nothing really big. We do get this 7 mana green spell. It's Turn Timber Symbiosis. So this is a mythic. It flips into a land. It's kind of like the other mythics before, where that land can come into play untapped if you pay 3 life. Kind of a worse shock land, but you get a land at least untapped. So Turn Timber Symbiosis, the 7 mana green sorcery. You look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. If that card has converted mana cost 3 or less, it enters with 3 additional +1/+1 counters on it, and then you put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I'm not really a big fan of this. I don't think it does quite enough compared to other spells we've seen before. Obviously, if you have Court of Calling, it's going to be better than this in just about every situation. If you have Eldritch Evolution, like things that can cheat exactly what you want into play, that's always going to be preferred. I mean, 7 mana to kind of cross your fingers and hope you get what you want is never really a good thing in Commander. It's not bad, it's just you have more optimal spells to go with. I do like that you're at least able to give a smaller creature, because if you do get screwed out of this and you get something tiny, like maybe you get a Sakura Tribe Elder, at least it's a 4/4 Sakura Tribe Elder, so it's not completely worthless. We do get some more of these flip cards. I do like this mechanic. Again, I'm not exactly certain how this is going to work. Whether it's after you play it or before you play it, you get the option to do either or. But it looks pretty cool, and I think if you had to really promote the return to Zendikar again, you're going to need something that really tells the players that this is a different set. This isn't as bad as Battle for Zendikar. Which, outside of some Eldrazi cards, I think the set was overall pretty bad. I'm not going to lie to you, when I heard that Zendikar was the fall set for this year, I was like, here we go again. You're going to follow up Ikoria, you're going to follow up, a really powerful set. A set, by the way, which really helped struggling game stores because of the lockdowns. It's selling really well despite the fact that most people aren't going to game stores to play games. I think that was a pretty big deal. So when you said a new Zendikar set coming in fall, if we're still locked down, it's not exactly a good sign for these game stores. I'm not going to say this is an outstanding set from what I've seen, but I do like the mechanics that I am seeing. Hopefully that amounts to something in the end, once we've received all of the spoilers. I definitely think that the Commander product is going to help us out a bit too. So Scourge of the Skyclaves, a 2 mana demon, 2 mana black demon with an undetermined power and toughness, kicker cost of 5 mana, so 7 total for it to really do what you want it to do. When you cast this spell, if it was kicked, each player loses half their life rounded up. Scourge of the Skyclaves' power and toughness are each equal to 20, minus the highest life total among players. This is probably going to be a limited bomb. This is also something I could see being strong in Standard. I think if you're going with Demon Tribal and Commander, any demon's going to be powerful. But this is going to be pretty good. I think this is a card that will definitely see some kind of demand. It's a 2-drop, so at the very least late game, you and your opponent in standard or limited or whatever you're playing, you only have like 10 life, only have 5 or 7 life, and then you drop this out and you have like a 13/13 demon for just 2 mana. I think that's ridiculous. Really interesting card. And again, kind of like before with September 5th, not a lot going on here. Just a couple mythics, and the rest is just bulk. So for September 7th, we get a little bit more. We have Wayward Guide Beast, 1 mana, trample haste, 2/2. This is a red creature. Whenever Wayward Guide Beast deals combat damage to a player, return a land you control to its owner's hand. So this is going to be pretty powerful if you want to go with mono red aggro. A 2/2, but you can get out turn 1 and immediately deal that damage. You're just going to see people commit to nothing but 1-drops and 2-drops. You don't have to worry about lands returning to your hand because if your deck is, again, mostly 1-drops and 2-drops, you don't really need anything more than a couple lands anyway. So I could see this definitely seeing a ton of play. We have Nahiri's Lithoforming. Red sorcery, 2 red and X. Sacrifice X lands. For each land sacrifice this way, draw a card. You may play X additional lands this turn. Lands you control enter the battlefield tap this turn. So this will go really well with, I forget the name of the Minotaur guy. Here he is. Morag, Fury of Akum. So landfall whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. If it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. At the beginning of that combat, untap all creatures you control. So if you want to play that spell, Morag would be a pretty interesting commander. Again, red is tricky with landfall. I said this before. Not a lot of ramp in red, and you're going to have to probably rely on some artifacts to get you your lands. Overall, this is going to be a stronger card in some kind of land strategy. Obviously, not just mono red. You're going to want to have it in a green deck where you're going to get most of your landfall anyway. It could be pretty strong. It doesn't specify what lands you're able to play. It just says you can play additional lands this turn. So that could be anything. I think that's fantastic about the card. And sacrificing X lands, there's already decks that benefit off of sacrificing lands. Overall, I think it's going to be a pretty good card in Commander. And we get a mythic 5-mana legendary artifact, Forsaken Monument. What do we know about these guys? Well, they tend to be pretty good. Colorless creatures you control get +2/+2. Whenever you tap a permanent for colorless mana, add an additional colorless mana. And whenever you cast a colorless spell, you gain 2 life. So this is exactly what I think we needed. This is obviously in reference to the Eldrazi, but the main focus of the set was obviously going to steer away from them. I think it is good though to have something like this just to enable a colorless strategy. Doesn't really matter what it is. You have essentially a mana doubler for colorless, which is something I think a lot of people were disappointed in when the wastes came out. Now you have something that can double the colorless mana that they tap for. Because Caged Sun specifically said choose a color. Colorless is not a color. So I think it's about time we get what is essentially the colorless Caged Sun. Akiri Fearless Voyager, 3 mana, Boros colored legendary core warrior, 3/3. Whenever you attack a player with 1 or more equipped creatures, draw a card. You may unattach an equipment from a creature you control. If you do, tap that creature and it gains indestructible until end of turn. I think that's a pretty solid ability. Overall, though, I don't think it's gonna overtake Akiri Lineslinger from Commander 2016. I think Akiri Lineslinger was just a bit more powerful. You just gained a ton of power, and that was for each of your artifacts, so your chances of dealing commander damage was a lot higher. I think with this you have a decent commander option for an equipment strategy if that's what you choose to do. You do have a way to draw cards. I think it's worse because it's not for each equipped creature. It only triggers and lets you draw if you have 1 or more, so kind of a drawback. Other than that, I think it could be interesting to play with. And as I refresh the page, we get another card. We get Lithoform Engine. And legendary artifacts, 4 or 5 mana, they tend to be pretty powerful. Has a 2 mana and tap ability. Copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. 3 mana and tap ability. Copy target instant or sorcery you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. And a 4 mana and tap ability. Copy target permanent spell you control. Which is pretty crazy. Again, look to the mythic artifacts. They tend to be powerful in Commander. This is going to be a powerful card in Commander. It lets you pretty much copy whatever you want to copy. And it's pretty rare to see the wording copy target permanent spell you control, because we haven't really seen it just specify that before. So if you're casting a creature, you can copy it. So if you're casting an artifact, you can copy it. This is overall just really crazy. I don't think I was quite expecting this kind of power to come out of the set. So definitely something I would look out for. I think it's definitely going to help people out with their Commander decks. I mean, there's a ton of copying for activated and triggered ability decks. There's a ton of copy target instant or sorcery decks. It looks like it could fit into a myriad of different strategies. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed these spoilers. I will definitely cover whatever I miss from the rest of September 7th in a follow-up video, and then eventually I will get to a top 10 for Zendikar Rising, and I'll also try to make some Commander decks too. You guys have a wonderful day. Void here signing off. See you all next time.